A god ripped out his own eye. Then he hung himself from a tree for 9 days with a spear through his chest. Not because he was punished, because he wanted to see the future. He saw it. He saw exactly how the world would end. And he spent the rest of his existence trying to stop it. And every single thing he did to prevent it is what made it happen. This is Odin, the All-Father, and his story is the greatest tragedy in all of mythology. Before Odin was the wise king you know from Marvel, he was a killer. He and his 2 brothers murdered the first being that ever existed, the primordial giant Ymir. They killed him so violently that his blood flooded the cosmos and drowned nearly every living thing, including Odin's own mother. Patricide, matricide, genocide, all in the first act. From Ymir's corpse, Odin built the 9 realms. His bones became mountains, his skull became the sky, his blood became the oceans. The entire world is a giant's carcass, shaped by the hands of the god who killed him. And from the 2 giants who survived the flood, an entire race rebuilt itself, the Jotnar. They would never forgive Odin, and Odin would never stop watching them. But at this point, Odin was just a warlord, powerful, brutal, victorious, and completely blind to what was coming. To see what was coming, he would have to pay a price no sane being would agree to. He paid it twice. Odin learned that carved into Yggdrasil, the tree of life, the axis that holds all 9 realms together, were runes of prophecy, carved there by the Norns, the 3 beings who weave the fate of every living thing, including the gods. The Norns told him the price: hang from the tree for 9 days and 9 nights, no food, no water, and before you hang, stab yourself through the chest with your own spear. Odin did it. 9 days swinging from the world tree, bleeding from a self-inflicted wound, staring into the void. On the 9th night, the runes revealed themselves. Odin could suddenly read the threads of fate. He understood the architecture of time itself. But the runes showed him the shape of destiny, not the details. For the full picture, he needed the Well of Wisdom, guarded by the wisest being in all the realms, the giant Mimir. Mimir's price was simpler and worse: 1 eye. Not a symbolic eye, not a metaphor. Odin reached into his own skull, tore out his eye, and dropped it into the well. He drank, and now he saw everything. Every thread of fate, every future, every death, including his own. What he saw was Ragnarok, the end of the world, and it started with his own blood brother's children. Odin's blood brother was Loki, a Jotun, a giant, who Odin had sworn a sacred oath to keep at his side forever. They had cut their palms, mixed their blood, and made a pact that could never be broken. But Loki had a secret: 3 children, born from a giantess, hidden from Asgard. The first, Fenrir, a wolf so massive that the gods had to forge magical chains to hold him, because nothing in the 9 realms could restrain him by force. The second, Jormungandr, a serpent so enormous it wrapped around the entire world and bit its own tail. The third, Hel, a girl, half beautiful, half rotting corpse. Odin saw all 3 in the prophecy. Fenrir would swallow him alive, Jormungandr would kill his son Thor, and Hel would raise an army of the dead to march on Asgard. So Odin acted. He threw the serpent into the ocean at the edge of the world. He chained the wolf in unbreakable bonds. He exiled Hel to the underworld. 3 children, 3 threats neutralized, problem solved. Except he had just made the one mistake the prophecy needed him to make. He had given Loki a reason to hate him. With Loki's children locked away, Odin turned to the second part of the prophecy. Ragnarok would be triggered by one specific event: the death of his favorite son. Not Thor, Balder, the god of light, the most beloved being in all of Asgard, so radiant that everything in the 9 realms loved him instinctively. Odin and his wife Frigg went to every being in the cosmos, every animal, every plant, every stone, every god, every giant, and made them all swear a sacred oath to never harm Balder. Every being swore, except one, a small, insignificant plant called mistletoe, too young, too harmless to bother with. For years it worked. Balder was invincible. The gods even made a game of it, throwing weapons at him and watching them bounce off. Nothing could touch him. And then Loki found the gap. He had never forgiven Odin for chaining Fenrir, banishing Jormungandr, and exiling Hel. 3 of his children, imprisoned, exiled, thrown away. Because of a prophecy. Because Odin saw the future and decided to punish Loki's children for crimes they hadn't committed yet. Loki carved an arrow from mistletoe. He placed it in the hands of Baldur's blind brother. He aimed the shot. The arrow struck Baldur in the chest, and the god of light fell dead. The trigger Odin had spent decades trying to prevent, the death that would start Ragnarok, happened because the person he'd hurt the most found the one weakness he'd overlooked. And Odin's response would seal the fate of everything. Odin couldn't kill Loki. The blood oath bound him. He had sworn to always keep Loki at his side, so he invented something worse than death. He captured Loki's Asgardian son, not one of the three monster children, a different son, an innocent, and killed him. Then he used the boy's intestines as rope and tied Loki to a rock beneath the earth. Above Loki's face, Odin placed a serpent, venom dripping endlessly onto Loki's forehead. A pain so extreme that Loki's thrashing caused earthquakes across the world. Loki's wife sat beside him for years, holding a bowl above his face to catch the drops. Every time she turned to empty the bowl, the venom hit and the world shook. This was Odin's justice, and it was the final piece of the prophecy clicking into place. Because what Odin didn't foresee, what the runes never showed him, was that Loki would break free. That the hatred Odin had created, drop by venomous drop, would be the fuel Loki needed to shatter his chains, free Fenrir, call Jormungandr from the deep, raise an army with Hel, and launch the war that would end everything. Every step Odin took to prevent Ragnarok is what caused Ragnarok. He exiled Loki's children, giving Loki a reason to hate. He made Baldur invincible, except for one plant, creating the perfect assassination. He tortured Loki, forging the rage that would power the final war. The wisest being in the cosmos, a god who ripped out his own eye and hung from a tree to see the future. And the future he saw was a trap, one that needed him to fight it in order to come true. The MCU gave you a wise old king who dies peacefully on a cliff, watching the sunset. Anthony Hopkins in a bathrobe, fading into golden light. The real Odin is eaten alive by a wolf he chained with his own hands, decades earlier, to stop exactly this. And he knew it was coming. He'd seen the exact moment in the runes, centuries before it happened. When Fenrir finally broke free at Ragnarok, Odin didn't run. He rode out to meet it, spear in hand, walking straight into the one death he'd spent his whole existence trying to avoid. That's not wisdom. That's the cruelest joke in mythology. A god who could see the entire future, and still couldn't see that the future was watching him build it. There's more to tell. Loki's full story, the frost giant who became a god and destroyed the ones who raised him. Ragnarok in full, realm by realm. The forging of Mjolnir, or the myth that actually inspired the Lord of the Rings. The cursed ring of the dwarf Andvari, a ring so powerful and so poisoned that it destroyed every single person who ever claimed it. The same ring Tolkien read about before he ever wrote of one ring to rule them all. I'm Ancient Legends, and the next legend is already waiting.